There is a quiet ache many hearts carry. The weight of bills unpaid, doors that refuse to open, prayers whispered into the night asking, Ya Allah, when? Not because the heart is greedy, but because it is tired. Tired of waiting, tired of feeling unseen, tired of giving its best and still standing at closed doors. And yet, somewhere deep inside, there is still hope. A fragile flame that believes Allah has not forgotten. And this is where faith gently speaks back to the soul. Allah reminds us that rizq was written before we ever asked for it, before effort, before struggle, before fear. What reaches you was never meant to miss you, and what delays you was never meant to harm you. Allah says that He provides from where we could never imagine, not from the doors we knock on endlessly, but from doors we didn't even know existed. Pain around provision is one of the deepest tests because it touches survival, dignity, and security. It makes the heart question its worth. It makes the mind race with fear. And yet, this is where Iman transforms suffering into surrender. When you realize that your delay is not denial and your struggle is not punishment, it is preparation. Sometimes Allah closes every visible door, so your heart learns to knock only on His. Remember, the Prophet taught us that if we relied upon Allah as we truly should, He would provide for us as He provides for the birds. They leave hungry in the morning and return full at night. They do not know how, they only know who. This is what tawakkul truly means. Not abandoning effort, but abandoning panic. Not giving up work, but giving up despair. And here lies one of the shortest, most powerful doors to rizq. Sincere remembrance wrapped in humility. To say with a broken heart, Astaghfirullah, not as words, but as surrender. To ask Allah for provision while cleaning the heart of resentment, impatience, and comparison. Because sometimes wealth is delayed until the heart is ready to carry it without losing Allah. This is what sabr truly means. Not silent suffering, but hopeful waiting. Waiting while trusting. Waiting while praying. Waiting while believing that Allah is rearranging your life with divine precision. Every delay is aligning something greater. Every closed door is protecting you from what would have broken you. So return to Allah with softness. Ask Him for rizq that brings you closer, not further. Wealth that heals, not distracts. Provision that carries barakah, not anxiety. Make your dua small but sincere. Make your trust large. And remember, the door you think is closed may already be opening, just not in the way you expected. Rizq is far greater than the numbers we see in our bank accounts or the possessions we hold in our hands. It is everything that Allah allows to reach you, seen and unseen, material and spiritual. It is the breath that enters your chest without effort, the peace that settles in your heart after sujood, the opportunities that arrive at the exact moment you needed them most. Allah distributes rizq with divine wisdom, not human logic. What looks small in quantity may carry immense barakah, while what looks abundant may feel heavy and empty if Allah's blessing is removed. Many people chase wealth believing it will bring security, yet they remain restless even after attaining it. This is because true richness begins in the heart. When Allah fills a heart with contentment, even little feels like enough. And when contentment is missing, nothing ever satisfies. The Prophet reminded us that richness is not having many possessions, but richness is the richness of the soul. This teaches us that rizq is not only what you earn, but how you experience what you are given. Sometimes Allah withholds money to grant something far greater, protection from arrogance, freedom from distraction, or closeness to Him that wealth might have taken away. Other times He opens doors of provision not to test your patience, but to test your gratitude. Both are forms of rizq. Both are signs of Allah's care. Even delays carry provision because they shape the heart, deepen reliance, and teach trust. When you begin to see rizq this way, fear slowly loosens its grip. You stop measuring your worth by income and start recognizing the countless ways Allah is sustaining you every single day. Every moment of ease, every answered prayer, every calm after hardship is a form of provision flowing directly from the most merciful. A single sincere dua has the power to move what effort alone cannot. not because the words themselves are magical, but because of the one being asked. When a heart turns fully to Allah, stripped of pride and certainty in its own strength, that moment carries a weight greater than years of striving without reliance. Dua is not a last resort for the desperate. It is the first door opened by the believer who understands where true control lies. Many doors remain closed, not due to lack of effort, but because the heart is still leaning on means instead of the creator of means. When you raise your hands with humility, you are not informing Allah of your need. He already knows. You are aligning your heart with dependence, admitting your weakness, and acknowledging His absolute power. This is why even a short dua, whispered with sincerity and trust, can shift destinies in ways the mind cannot comprehend. Allah says that He is near and that He responds to the call of the caller when they call upon Him. Sometimes the response comes as exactly what was asked. Sometimes it comes in a different form: protection from harm, patience to endure, or doors opening quietly without announcement. What feels like silence is often Allah working beyond your limited sight, arang, in outcomes with precision and mercy. The Prophet taught us that nothing repels divine decree except dua. This does not contradict qadr, it is part of it. Your dua was written before your hardship arrived. Your turning back to Allah was never random. Each sincere supplication is recorded, preserved, and answered in the way that benefits your soul most. When dua becomes a daily habit rather than an emergency call, the heart softens, fear lessens, and trust deepens. Closed doors no longer feel permanent because the believer knows that no door remains shut when Allah Himself is being asked to open it. Allah's timing and provision is never late, even when it feels unbearably slow to the human heart. Delay often feels like rejection, and waiting feels like being forgotten. Yet in reality, divine timing is precise, intentional, and filled with mercy. What reaches you early may harm you, and what reaches you late may save you. Allah sees the full picture, the consequences, the tests, the growth, while we only see the moment we are standing in. The heart grows restless during delay because it is attached to outcomes instead of wisdom. We ask for provision believing we are ready, but Allah knows what that provision would do to us if it arrived now. Would it distance us from prayer? Would it feed arrogance? Would it break us under responsibility we cannot yet carry? Sometimes Allah delays rizq not to deprive, but to prepare the soul to receive it with gratitude instead of heedlessness. This waiting is not empty time. It is sacred ground where iman is refined. Every unanswered prayer reshapes reliance, teaching the heart to trust without seeing. This is where tawakkul deepens, when the heart continues to believe despite uncertainty. Allah says that He tests us with fear and hunger, loss of wealth and life, but gives glad tidings to those who are patient. The test is not about what is missing, but about what remains firm in the heart. The Prophet taught us that Allah is gentle with His servants. Gentleness includes delay. It includes protection from harm we never knew existed. It includes redirecting us away from paths that look promising but would have led to regret. When provision finally arrives at its appointed time, it comes with barakah that could never have existed if it arrived earlier. Understanding divine timing transforms waiting into worship. It replaces anxiety with trust and teaches the soul to rest, knowing that what is written will arrive exactly when it is meant to, not a moment before and never a moment late. Hardship around wealth often feels personal, as though it is a reflection of one's worth or effort. When financial strain persists, the heart begins to question itself, wondering whether it has been abandoned or overlooked. Yet Islam teaches us that difficulty in provision is not a sign of Allah's displeasure, but often a test of reliance. Allah measures hearts not by what they possess, but by where they turn what. And what they possess is taken away. When money feels scarce, it exposes the foundations of trust. Does the heart panic? Or does it pray? Does it chase every door in desperation? Or does it pause and remember who truly owns the keys? This is where tawakkul is formed, not in comfort, but in uncertainty. Trust is easy when provision flows. It becomes real when resources dry up and the heart must choose faith over fear. Allah sometimes tightens provision to protect the believer from becoming enslaved to wealth. A heart attached too deeply to money risks forgetting its true purpose. Scarcity can be a mercy that redirects attention back to Allah, reminding the soul that security was never meant to come from numbers or possessions. The Quran reminds us that Allah expands provision for whom He wills and restricts it for whom He wills, and that in this are signs for people who believe. The Prophet lived with simplicity even when he had access to wealth, teaching us that dignity is not found in abundance, but in reliance. Financial struggle humbles the ego, softens the heart, and makes dua more sincere. It strips away illusions of control and replaces them with honesty before Allah. When hardship is met with tawakkul, it transforms from a burden into a bridge. Each moment of reliance becomes worship. Each fear surrendered becomes a step closer to inner peace. The test was never about money. It was about where the heart stands when money is no longer enough. True wealth begins in the heart. The moment reliance shifts from creation to the Creator. As long as the heart believes that people, jobs, or circumstances are the source of security, it remains vulnerable to fear and disappointment. But when the heart anchors itself to Allah, something profound changes. Stability is no longer tied to what can be lost. Peace no longer rises and falls with income. The soul learns that the one who provided yesterday is fully capable of providing tomorrow. Many people accumulate wealth yet live in constant anxiety, afraid of losing what they have. Others possess very little yet walk with calm confidence because their hearts are full. This difference is not in circumstance, but in reliance. When trust is placed in Allah, the heart is freed from obsessive comparison and endless worry. It understands that provision is assigned, not competed for. No one can take what Allah has written for you, and no one can give what He has withheld. The Prophet taught us to ask Allah for contentment because contentment is a treasure that never runs out. A heart that is content does not mean a heart that stops striving, but one that strives without desperation. It works, plans, and dreams, yet remains calm because its trust is rooted beyond results. This kind of reliance attracts barakah. Even small amounts become sufficient, and limited resources stretch in ways that logic cannot explain. When reliance shifts to Allah, fear of the future softens. The heart stops rehearsing worst-case scenarios and begins to remember past rescues. Every time Allah provided when you thought there was no way, every time ease followed hardship, these memories become proof, strengthening iman. This inner richness is a gift Allah places in hearts that surrender. It is a wealth that cannot be stolen, reduced, or destroyed. When the heart knows its provider, it rests, regardless of what the world offers or withholds. Sabr during financial difficulty is one of the most misunderstood forms of patience. It is not passive acceptance, nor is it silent despair. It is an active state of trust, where the heart continues to believe in Allah's goodness even while the hands feel empty. When wealth becomes uncertain, sabr becomes the anchor that prevents the soul from drowning in fear. It teaches the heart to wait without breaking and to hope without demanding. Every moment of patience in hardship is seen by Allah and recorded with care. The Quran reminds us that the patient will be given their reward without measure. This unlimited reward is not only in the hereafter, but also in the strength Allah places in the heart now. Through sabr, anxiety is replaced with resilience and panic with clarity. The struggle does not disappear, but it loses its power to define you. Financial strain tests dignity and self-worth. It whispers lies that you are failing or falling behind. Sabr silences these whispers by reconnecting the heart to truth. That worth is not measured by income. ND success is not defined by ease. The Prophet endured periods of severe poverty, yet his heart remained the richest of all. His patience was not rooted in circumstances improving, but in certainty that Allah never abandons His servants. Patience also protects the believer from making desperate choices that compromise faith. In waiting, the heart is trained to choose halal over quick relief, trust over shortcuts. This restraint itself becomes a source of barakah. What eventually arrives is purified by the patience that preceded it. Sabr transforms difficulty into elevation. Every delayed desire, every restrained complaint, every moment of endurance raises the soul closer to Allah. Hardship becomes a means of nearness, not distance. When patience is embraced for Allah's sake, the struggle itself becomes a form of worship, silently shaping a heart that is strong, grounded, and deeply connected to its Lord. Consistent remembrance and seeking forgiveness open doors to provision in ways the mind cannot predict. When the tongue stays moist with dhikr, the heart remains awake, and an awakened heart attracts divine mercy. Allah links remembrance directly to ease, promising tranquility to those who remember Him. This tranquility itself becomes a form of rizq, calming the anxiety that often blocks gratitude and clarity. A heart at peace recognizes opportunities that a fearful heart overlooks. Seeking forgiveness is not only about past sins, it is a spiritual cleansing that removes barriers between the servant and divine generosity. The Quran recounts how forgiveness brings rain from the sky, increase in wealth, and strength upon strength. When a believer turns to Allah with istighfar, they are not merely erasing mistakes, they are realigning their soul with humility, and humility is a magnet for provision. Many doors remain closed not because effort is lacking, but because the heart is burdened with resentment, pride, or heedlessness. Dhikr softens these inner knots. It shifts focus away from scarcity and toward trust. When Allah is remembered consistently in moments of ease and struggle, the heart learns to depend less on circumstances and more on divine care. The Prophet taught that the best of remembrance is what is consistent, even if small. A few sincere moments each day can transform the inner world. Over time, this inner change begins to reflect outwardly. Decisions become wiser. Patience deepens. Relationships improve. These changes invite provision in forms that go far beyond money. When forgiveness and remembrance become daily companions, the believer walks through life lighter. Worry no longer dominates, and hope quietly grows. Provision begins to flow from unexpected directions because the heart is aligned with the giver, not distracted by the gift. At the end of it all, rizq was never meant to be chased in panic, nor measured by what the eyes can count. It was meant to be trusted. Allah has already written what will reach you, and He has written it with wisdom, mercy, and perfect timing. Every closed door, every delay, every moment of scarcity was shaping your heart, teaching it where true security lives. When you place your trust fully in Allah, nothing is ever lost. It is only redirected. Hold firmly to dua, to sabr, to remembrance, and to forgiveness, even when results feel slow, especially then. Because Allah is not absent in your waiting, He is working within it. What is meant for you is moving toward you, carried by divine care, protected by divine knowledge, and delivered at the moment your soul needs it most. So stand in faith, soften your heart, and keep turning back to Allah, the one who opens doors no one can shut and provides in ways that leave the heart in awe.